Today, my guest is Kelsey Howard. Kelsey is a yoga instructor and she does corporate yoga, chair yoga, in person yoga, and more. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So, what are you doing these days? How are you helping people? Tell me about you.
Yeah, I think it helps to kind of backtrack a little bit how I came about in the fitness world. So, I actually started out in dance. I danced all throughout my younger years. I went to college for dance, and then that's essentially what brought me to Chicago. And I specialize in tap dance. I tap dance professionally. Quite a bit when I first moved here throughout the city. And I still tap dance now, just not to the extent that I used to. So, kind of going from tap dancing a few days a week to getting into these intense rehearsals really did a number on my body. I incurred quite a few injuries throughout that time, especially when I first got out here. And yoga was actually one of the first kind of I would say things that I kind of latched onto for my recovery after I got through the PT and all that and was kind of cleared back into activities. And I just really noticed a big change in my balance. I had a lot of muscle imbalances, and yoga really helped me to kind of build more strength and just an overall awareness of my body that I could use in my dancing. So as I got, oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Looked like you were going to say
that's
something.
no, that's great. I just wanted to notice too that I know you're NASM certified as well, National Academy of
Yes.
Medicine, and they're very good at helping you understand as an instructor muscle imbalances. So that's interesting that you have that background too, and you were able to correct that through yoga. It sounds like. Later on, I'd like to hear more about the restorative benefits of yoga, how that plays into correcting muscle imbalances. But please, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so that kind of got me into thinking more seriously about maybe I'd like to teach yoga. I love movement and dance, and that seemed like a nice progression in that area of interest. So I went and got my yoga certification, which then later down the road got me more involved and interested in overall fitness, weight training, strength training. And that's where I got my NASM certification as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I love the balance of education that you have. I've always said to, because I'm a personal trainer as well, to clients I've worked with, that the combination of strength training and yoga is so excellent because they're different in many ways, but they complement each other. So maybe we talk about that later too. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Tell me about something that you do that is unique is adaptive fitness and chair yoga. So, as far as I understand, that's about working muscle groups in a chair if you might have limited mobility, or maybe it's for more people than that. Than that. Tell me about chair yoga, how that works.
Yeah, so the chair yoga started first, and then it's kind of evolved into more. I got into a training for teaching corporate yoga, and we heavily utilized props in the classes. I thought it would simply be just the protocol of how you go into the space and maybe teach a little bit differently in a corporate setting. But we sat in a chair the whole time. We had a desk, and we adapted most of the yoga poses to that chair and desk. So I think this is a great modality for people that do have limited mobility. Maybe they can't bear weight on their feet. Um, Seniors, there's a lot of ways that it can be kind of used for those different audiences.
All right. So obviously, there is an issue with low back pain and knee pain, especially in this country. Is it for those kind of people, or is it just easier than regular yoga, or is it both?
I wouldn't say it's easier
All right.
because you're still engaging muscle groups, but you do have the support of the chair. So for maybe people that really struggle with balance, I have clients that have a really hard time with balance. This is just another way to provide support. They can start to focus on how they're going to hold their upper body, where the positioning of the legs are, without having to worry about the balance aspect. And it's a great building block. You can take and eventually take away the chair and have them hold warrior two without the chair. I know, especially like in a corporate setting, they're trying to appeal to people that maybe don't have a yoga practice already. Maybe they're not super into fitness. And just the fact that they've got this chair for support kind of helps to create a more inviting environment, especially, you're with your coworkers practicing. Maybe people are a little bit insecure about how they might look, outside of just their regular work. So it creates a really inviting atmosphere for those that are maybe curious about yoga as well.
And you know what I like about that too is you already have the equipment you need. So you have the chair, that's part of your routine. And if you're at work, if you need to, a lot of people they struggle to make time for their workout. So if your workout involves a chair where you're at work and you already have your space and your equipment, I mean, not many excuses to not do your workout right at that point.
Yeah. And another great thing with that is you don't have to change. It's made so that you could go right from your desk, or stay at your desk if you're doing a virtual session, or come into that meeting room with everyone. So it creates less excuses.
Okay.
Less effort needs to be put into getting yourself to the room, which I can understand. I work at home too, and I'm on the computer a lot. And sometimes you get caught up in things and it's really hard to take yourself out of that. So this is a great way to kind of do it without having to think or prepare a lot.
Right. Yeah, no excuses now. I can see that. That's really cool. I can see how that would be great for people with limited mobility. Now, I also understand you have a good grasp on how to get a good cardio routine in the chair.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little background on that. I'm actually currently recovering from a severe strain in my Liz Frank ligament on my foot. And I was put in the boot about, 12, 15 weeks ago. And I think anyone that's active, injuries can be really debilitating. And my first thought, of course, when I was in the boot was, how am I going to move? How am I going to work out and stay fit when I really need to be keeping weight off my foot? So I started researching different ways to adapt movements that we do standing up in a chair, that can still get your heart rate up. That are still working muscle groups. You're moving your body, and you don't need the treadmill or the bike to get the good workout in.
Right. I like that. I think people that have gone through the struggle themselves, who like you've dealt with the injury yourself where you have limited ankle mobility, you had to figure it out yourself and you're certified in this area. So I think that's really good. Can you give me a little bit of like demonstration or help me
Yeah.
visualize what that would look like? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, let me shift my camera a little. It's probably not going to be the best angle, but
Okay. Now, so
you can
it
see.
doesn't matter what kind of chair, right? Do I need a certain kind of chair to do chair yoga or wherever I'm sitting?
I always recommend a chair that doesn't have wheels, just because if you are moving around, there
That
could
sounds
be some
dangerous. Yeah.
liabilities there.
I can imagine. Okay. All right. Well, my chair
Yeah,
does have wheels, but it's not a rug, so I don't think I'm going anywhere. So maybe I'll do some with you. Maybe I'll just watch. But yeah, let's get into it.
yeah. And then when you're on the chair, obviously it's really important to be scooted forward on the chair so that you can sit up nice and tall.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're back a little bit further, it's kind of easier to kind of hunch and round. So we're still engaging the core, we're still engaging the upper back, even though we're seating. That means to me, I like to think about drawing the belly button up towards the spine. So
Okay.
just finding a little bit of engagement, not holding in so tight that you're holding your breath, but just noticing the core. Because when we're not engaged, the belly is just like softer, it's relaxed. Keeping that core engaged, the core, it's also the low back as well. Keeping that engaged helps to protect the low back, and it keeps the spine straighter as well, so that we're not hunching or putting any pressure.
Okay. Excellent. Love that. Yeah. Let's do it.
So some movements that you can do from the chair. One that I love is just a boxing punch. So you're going to punch across, right and left. You're finding a little bit of a twist at your upper ribs. So my hips aren't moving, but just my upper spine is rotating right and left. Another great one, if we want to stick with the punching hands, is a reaching kick. So you're going to extend one leg, punch the opposite arm forward,
All right, wait, let
and
me
then
not kick
come
anything.
back to center. Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure objects and pets are out of the way. So you're reaching across. And one thing you might notice in this one is you kind of want to start to hunch or sit back if the core isn't engaged. So really engaging that core, working against gravity as you lift the leg so that you're using the core to help facilitate the lift of the leg rather than your hip flexor. You're also, when you straighten the leg, think about pulling up through your quadriceps. So finding a little tension forming in the quad as well. Another one, a chair jumping jack. So if we create a little goalpost in our arms, and it's kind of hard to see my legs, but I'm bringing my feet open and then close, open and close. And you can start to bring up the tempo here and go quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Another one that I
I've never
love.
done these. This is cool. I've never done these.
See, and you don't have to stand. You can
No,
still
I don't
still
feel
work the heart.
I don't feel any pressure on my knees. I feel comfortable. I feel balanced. That was good. I could feel that would
Yeah.
definitely bring my heart rate up too.
And for someone that does have a lower body injury, so like when I had my foot in the boot, I would just keep that leg kind of hovering from the ground. So I wasn't tapping that foot. I would just kind of work the right toes against the ground so that I'm not putting any unnecessary strain.
Excellent. Okay. I love that. Yeah, any others that you like? Any other moves that you like?
Yeah, we'll do one more. So another one that I like, it's a seated tuck. So really good for the low abs. I like to bring my hands up in line with my chest. And then from here, sitting up nice and tall, you're going to start to lift both knees up towards the feet.
Okay, I'm gonna sit on the edge here. Okay. So this is working my abs, right?
Yes. And what we want to eliminate is a lot of rocking.
Okay.
So you'll feel a little bit of a curve maybe in the low back, just so that you can easily move the knees, but we shouldn't be going crazy all over the place.
Right. Okay.
Really drawing the navel in to help lift.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. And maybe I could like extend my legs out if I wanted that to be a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Even
right.
that. Yep.
Yes. That's a challenge. Okay, I like it.
You can sit and
So
get fit.
what's that?
I
Sit and
said
get
you
fit?
can sit and get fit.
I love that. Sit and get fit. Is that one of your slogans that you use?
Not really, but it is
Oh man,
catchy.
that's a good one. I like that. Very good. Yeah, I can definitely see how, especially for someone who might be a little deconditioned or not in the best shape, that could be a real challenge, and that's good. I felt my heart coming up on that one, and I had never done those moves, so that was really cool. So between chair yoga and chair cardio, can you work all the muscle groups, or is there certain ones that are easier to work? How does that go?
Yeah, you can work all of them. For me, I found that it's a lot easier, obviously, to work the upper body. I think that there's a lot more that you can do. But you can do some more kind of isolated movements for the lower body, inner thigh, outer thigh, kind of with the jumping jack. But unfortunately, I feel like there's some limitations there, is what I find.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I guess not every piece of equipment is perfect, but I like that it's handy and really no matter where you're at, you can find a chair and you can get a workout in. And I think that's really cool. Maybe, do you ever use bands with a chair routine, like resistance bands?
I've been dabbling a little bit with that. I wish I had one of those round bands that you can put, across the thighs
Yeah.
for kind of like the little walks that you might do in a line and use that. You could add that in with the jumping jack. That's going to add more resistance and kind of amp it up in the lower body as well.
Yeah, I think now that I think about it, you could get pretty creative with if you had a chair and a couple of resistance bands. Definitely, if you had a couple of dumbbells with you, I think you could really get a pretty complete routine with all that. The chair alone is great, but yeah, you could put some other, um, you know, mobile or small pieces of equipment that you could probably fit in your office or at home and use that with the chair. I think that'd
Mm-hmm.
be cool too. So coming back to yoga, it's not a part of my regular routine. If I want to start getting into it, how would I start incorporating yoga into my lifestyle? Where would I start?
Yeah, I guess the thing that I always come back to is be realistic with yourself. If you're not a morning person, don't set a goal that you're going to wake up at 6 a.m. and practice yoga. Because if you don't like waking up, you're not going to want to wake up to do yoga, especially if it's not ingrained in your routine already. And
Okay.
I think it can work a couple different ways with scheduling. I know for myself, working from home and being at the desk, right now, the way my schedule is set up with my teaching and work, I don't have a full hour to work out most days. I chunk it up. So I'll do maybe 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes on my lunch break, and then 20 minutes at the end of the day, to kind of get my movement in.
Oh, so you break it up into different parts of the day. Okay. Is that because the whole routine would require an hour total to do, or is it that you're repeating some sequences later, or are all those sections different?
Usually for me, it's different. I might do like 20 minutes of core work or Pilates work in the morning. And then on my lunch break, something cardio. And then in the evening, I teach yoga. So I guess that's my kind of my opportunity to get some like a longer practice in, because those are usually hour classes. But during like the beginning of my day, I like to move in between being seated so long. So it's nice just to have a couple little kind of routines set aside for that.
Wait, well, now we have to
Anyway,
talk about the cat. What's your cat's name?
yeah. That's
I like the
Randall.
cat.
He loves yoga and he loves putting his butt in the camera.
Well, I love cats, and cats they're probably great at yoga. They're very flexible. That's
Yes.
cute. Randall is his name? Randall?
Yes.
Oh, Randall's awesome. All right. So you break it up throughout the day. That makes me think of the current exercise guidelines for Americans, they say about 150 minutes total per week. So I'm thinking about if you did something like your routine, that's about an hour a day, you could get those 150 minutes in less than 2 days if you had that whole thing that you do. So it doesn't take a lot, right? I think that obviously there's more to it. I don't want to say that everyone should be doing 150 minutes of work. It really depends on a lot of things, of course, intensity being one of them. But it doesn't take much or
Yeah.
very
And I
simple.
mean, even going back to the yoga, I kind of derailed us, but um, even if you said maybe I'm going to do 10 minutes a day, 2 times a week, and just start with something small. And maybe that 10 minutes is just like a sun A salutation, or maybe it's more of a meditation or some restorative stretches. And then slowly, maybe you build on that. Or maybe you really want to do like a full yoga class, a nice traditional, like hour-long class. Maybe you just pick one day of the week. Okay, every day at 5 p.m., I found a studio. I'm going to go take a class. And, it doesn't have to be every day, especially when you're just getting started. Find something manageable that allows you to kind of build it into your schedule. And I mean, even if you don't want to make yoga kind of your main focus, even just taking one class a week is so helpful for any other types of activities that you're doing. It really complements those and gives your body a chance for active recovery, because you do need that, when you're lifting weights or doing more intense forms of exercise.
All right. So you're saying yoga can be great for people who are either just getting into it, not working out a lot, and also for the people who are going hard or working out intensely with other kinds of routines too, right? For the recovery
Yeah.
aspect. Okay. Speaking of that, your own personal experience with yoga, why do you do it? Like, what are the benefits that you're noticing that keeps you going? Why would you practice yoga for yourself? What are you noticing?
For me, it's just really great for mobility, to be able to move. A lot of the movements that we do in yoga can translate into weight training, I've noticed. So doing a deadlift is like the same thing as doing a halfway lift in yoga. You're engaging the same muscles. So kind of you're building that form in two places. One with weights and then one without weights, which is great for reinforcing when you are going to pick up the heavier weights.
Hmm.
Um, And like a single leg deadlift, you're creating the same lines in your body as if you're doing a warrior three pose. So if you've got the balance from yoga to hold warrior three, when you add in that weight for your single leg deadlift and want to try to lift the back leg, you've kind of got that muscle memory already built in your body.
Right. And you and I are both NASM certified. And what do they say? They say, take care of the stabilizing muscles first to prepare the body for more intense demands later on. So that whole kinetic chain, all the muscles from one part of the body to another are strong enough to do the movement properly, right? And I can see that. I can see what you mean. That starts to build in, for example, that kind of yoga pose, which can turn into a more intense movement with weights later on. I think that's a nice progression.
Yeah, and I've even noticed I teach a yoga class Monday nights and then I teach a weight class on Tuesdays. And a lot of my Monday night people that take my class, they come and take the weights on Tuesday, and things click for them a lot quicker than for people that don't take yoga. They have a harder time listening to the cues and adapting them to their body. But if I say, oh, for those of you that take yoga and you know what a halfway lift is, think about creating that same line of energy in your back when you're leaning forward for your deadlift.
Right. I can see people. I remember when I started my fitness journey, I started to notice patterns with different movements. They're not, when we start to learn new exercises, at first it may seem like, oh gosh, this is so much to know. And then they're so different. But after a while, you understand that there's a lot of similarities between different exercises. You learn how to press. You learn how to do a proper pushing movement, a proper pulling movement, hinging, which is, from what I know about yoga, which is very little, but a lot of hinging movements are learned there.
Mm-hmm.
Balance movements, rotational movements. I see it all in yoga and strength training. So, yeah, it seems like you could learn the pattern of more advanced strength training stuff later on if you have a good grasp of yoga. Would you see it that way?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So I kind of started last year doing just yoga by the lake, and bringing together people for that, just for a different experience. And I've since expanded it to things like if you were hosting a bachelorette party and you wanted to kick it off one day in the morning, maybe with yoga before you go do everything else that the bachelorette parties entail, or a birthday party having a themed yoga class. I also recently partnered with a restaurant that's local and in my neighborhood, and we're going to start hosting events. So that's something that I'm definitely looking to expand upon. Is yoga is about community as well. And I think it's so cool when you can also partner and support another business. And then we can also, show our offerings to new people and kind of make it more of a community thing, getting to know each other through these more like social events.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I mean, yoga, it's in a class, right? It's not only one-on-one. You do mostly group classes, right?
Yes.
So by the lake, like so literally outside by a lake.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So I'm right by Lake Michigan. It's literally across the street from my condo. So we just hop over there and set up, and it's really nice in the
That's
summer.
that does sound nice. Yeah, I was gonna say in the summer, you probably don't do a lot of that in the winter in Chicago, right?
Not in Chicago,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, it's a little different where I am. I'm in Florida. So when winter comes, are you doing more of the online thing?
I'd like to pick it up. I opened up my schedule recently to take some virtual clients, and keeping that open to, anyone if you're interested in yoga, more of a personal training, weight training type format, as well as the chair yoga, because I know that there is an audience out there that could use that.
Yeah.
So really would love to work with someone that's interested in something like the adaptive fitness, that has maybe recovering from an injury, you have limited mobility in some area of your body. I love working with people that have some sort of kind of challenge that they're working with, because it forces me to get more creative and do more research and kind of learn how to adapt what I already know to help them. And my big thing is I love movement. That's why I love dancing, is I love the way it feels when you can move and move without pain.
Wow.
So getting to help other people experience just like the freedom of movement and the enjoyment that it can bring is really what I love and why I do what I do.
Great. So you're available right now if someone wants to get in touch with you for either working out or yoga through virtual classes?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Well, if anyone's out there who's never tried working with a trainer online, it's not that different from in person, and it may be easier to do than you think. So give it a try. Give Kelsey a call. So what's the best way to reach you? Are you on social media?
Yeah, so I do have a website, khmovementlab.com. There's a contact inquiry form. Feel free to fill that out with information. I don't really post my whole schedule. So all of my availability isn't up there, but I'm happy to kind of talk with you, see what you're looking for, and see if we might be a good fit. And then I'm also on Instagram at KH Movement Lab and Facebook. And then you could always email me, khmovementlab@gmail.com directly if you wanted to connect as well.
Excellent. So people out there, even if you have a demanding, busy job and you're at work all day, if you have a chair, you have a computer, there's no excuse. You can get in a workout. If you don't know how to do that, give Kelsey a call or email. That's great. Kelsey, thank you so much for joining me today. I think it's really important that people out there who are watching, I love Randall, by the way, get to know Kelsey and get to know instructors who are out there, because technology allows us now to help you from anywhere in the world. It's amazing how available real experts are out there. If you don't understand the yoga space, or if you're getting into exercise, or if you're just looking to make time for a workout, there are people out there to help you. Get to know them, spend some time talking with them, have a relationship with the experts, because you're more likely to kind of pick up on their behaviors and their habits and their attitudes. And it's only a good thing, because Kelsey is living by example. She's taken her own fitness and improved it, and she's also certified in this area. So love to see experts like you out there. So thank you so much for joining me, and
Yeah,
hope
thanks
to
for
talk to
having
you
me.
soon. Yes.